What do I grow in my garden? Hey everybody, this is Michael with Asymmetrical Preparedness. In this video, I'm going to go over exactly that. What all we are growing this year. Not all of it's planted yet, so I'll talk about some of the stuff that's not planted though. And this question came from a viewer wanting to know, curious about what all we grow. Here in the Pacific Northwest, what grows in our area best, things like that. So I'm going to cover everything we grow on the Asymmetrical Preparedness Homestead in this video. Thank you for being here. Please subscribe, hit the like button, comment below, and please share the videos. And check out the links in the description below. Patreon, Amazon, those kind of things. Really appreciate your support. We're fighting the good fight. We're trying to stay afloat. So any help you can provide, help the channel grow, great. Reach more people, build more assets instead of liabilities, great. Get more people into prepping, great. Build the community, great. Please help out. Okay, so as part of what we're growing, this section here has lettuce and kale. And as you can see, it's starting to come up. Some there, some there. So yeah, that's just a little section we have here of some lettuce and kale. Then right here we have our blueberry bush. Here I'll do a little close-up of the blueberry bush. Hopefully get it to focus right here. Come on, focus, focus, focus. He doesn't want to focus. Anyway, there's our blueberry bush. Right next to it is lavender. Okay, this section, as you see, spinach and onions and the corn that Chunky the squirrel randomly planted. And this is stuff that just grew up from last year. So I'm just going to let it go. Probably add in some more stuff. And as you see right here, we got jalapenos. Some jalapenos in that area there. In here we got some angry face bell peppers. In that area right there. And then over here we got some Swiss chard. Oh yeah, back over here was also, there's some Swiss chard also. It's looking really nice, but ready to harvest some of that. And some more chunky corn. And then some more Swiss chard over here. And this area here from where you see the hose over to about right here is usually where a bunch of tomato plants just come up also randomly every year. Tons of cherry tomato plants come up right there. Here we have our onions, green onions. And you've seen that. We harvest them as green onions. If they ever grew into actual onions, I guess I'd harvest them also. This raised bed is full of potatoes. And this raised bed is about it's about a 7-foot by 7-foot bed. And I will show you, it needs to be weeded some. These little kind of weeds are coming up all over the place. We got to keep up on those and all the rocks that are exposed by the rain. So we're trying to pick those off and weed it a little bit, keep up on stuff. But there is our first potato coming up in that bed. Okay, in this pallet board and log raised bed here, I'll show you the whole thing. We have some green onions that are just growing back up from last year. And yes, it's got those little pesky weeds in it we got to weed out. But what we got here, I'll back up so you can see the whole raised bed, hopefully, yeah. So that raised bed, that's like a 3-foot by 7-foot bed. And that has potatoes in it. And then I planted about 3/4 of the bed. If you can see the little stick right there. So from here to here, I planted a bunch of onions, forgetting that I'd already planted potatoes. So we'll see how that goes. In this tire with the rim still on it, you can see, so the rubber chemicals and stuff like that are not going to leach into the soil. This is some squash. Some yellow crookneck squash, I believe, are in this one. And over here we have some zucchini planted in this one. This one does not have a rim, so I'm just probably going to use it for a year or two and then probably just dig out all the dirt and get rid of it. Okay, so here's another thing we have. This raised bed is that's a 2-foot by 8-foot bed. That is our Jerusalem artichoke bed. Because I wanted them in a bed because they're invasive species and I didn't want them taking over a whole area. So I'm just going to let them have that bed. Bunch of them are planted in there, so we should have really good output this year. And then the bed next to it is the big bed. That is a 4 by 10 foot bed, double tall, 2 by 10s. So that's 20 inches tall, plus 2 feet deep underneath there is dug. This is the hugelkultur bed that has a bunch of logs, sticks, branches, really good compost, all that kind of stuff in there, a bunch of topsoil from our property, and then on top of that, the last probably 10 inches or so is the 50-50 garden mix, mushroom, compost, topsoil. This is going to be our Three Sisters bed, which is, I've talked about before, is corn, which I've actually now, because people mentioned that corn is better grown in bunches instead of rows. What I did is initially I put 2 rows in there, but what I ended up doing is I ended up planting a bunch more in kind of a third and kind of a fourth row. So we'll see how it works. And then once that comes up, I will plant beans, pole beans, to grow up there, and some squash. Some people say things about Three Sisters and how, it may not work that well, but I like trying different things. So I'm going to see how well it works for us, and then I'll let you guys know how well it works for us. Okay, this raised bed, as you can see the lines across it just in twine, that is for peas to grow up. So there's a row of peas there. Then the rest of the raised bed, all that other area, is potatoes. So we'll see how well that combination goes. There is our herb pile. I talked about it in another video. Has a whole bunch of different herbs. I'll have to see which all ones lived and which all ones grow so I can describe which herbs we're growing. Then over here, this raised bed is about a 4 foot by, it's probably a 10 foot also. It's a pretty big bed, just made out of logs that I had on the property. So it will, they'll compost down eventually. I have to rebuild it, but it's all good. This is full of potatoes, recently planted, just planted now. But there's some onions in there. There's some leaves that the kids were playing with earlier that they threw in there. They were feeding the sheep. Feeding the sheep. Playing. And as you see, some Swiss chard had lived from last year and is growing up as well as over there. So I'll just leave that alone. I just kind of let things go. I don't weed or I don't, thin stuff. I try to just let it go and see what happens. So that's that raised bed. This raised bed is about a 4 by 8. You can see there some logs, some boards, construction stuff I had laying around, trying to make do, more with less, and put in as many raised beds as possible. So this section here you can see right there. If you can read that, it's hard to read. That's 13-year-old writing. Green beans. So from about, let me see. So as you can see, the raised bed, so from about here over is green beans. And then from there over here is yellow beans. Yellow wax beans. And as you see, green onions growing up. I'll leave them alone and see how it impacts it. And then, like I've talked about, our gravel pathways that we've been working on. There's a picture of that one, and then I'll show you this side of this one. So we grow lots of rocks here. We're really successful rock growers. Here's another pathway we're working on. Yeah, we're gonna have rock pathways everywhere because, as you see, look at it. This is our rock bed. We're growing rocks here, and that's we're really successful rock growers. So, that's really important. In this raised bed, we have, here I'll go in on the sign, we have cabbage. So that raised bed, we have, let me see, 1, 2, 3 rows of cabbage right there. And then we have cauliflower. We have about 3 rows of cauliflower right there. Over here, we have Brussels sprouts. And that is, I think, 3 rows of those. And then to finish that bed, we have about 3 rows of broccoli. And that's happy broccoli because it's got a smiley face on it. So that's very important to keep your plants happy. So that's that raised bed. So here's our Brussels sprout plant from last year that grew up and up and up and up and up. So I don't know if it will actually produce Brussels sprouts. But I'm just going to let it go, do its thing. Hopefully it will. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. So here's one of those examples. See that rock? We grew it really well. It's ready for harvest now. So I'm gonna harvest it. Yum. Oh, so this raised bed is a 4 foot by 8 foot. It has a 2 by 10 and a 2 by 8, so it's 18 inches tall and full of good stuff. So right here we got carrots. That's one of my kids' favorite foods. So fresh carrots. We got 8 rows of carrots right there. 8 or 10 rows of carrots. Then right there you can see we have beets. We have about 4 rows of beets in there, in that area right there. And then over here you can see turnips. We have, I think, about 4 rows of turnips right there. So we're looking forward to those. This bed has, if you can see the sign here, honeydew. So from that sign, see how the sign is angled? From that sign, so from there, all this area here over to here, that's honeydew. Got a bunch planted. Better location this year. We really want to try to grow some melons because we love melons. Kids love sweet melons. And then the rest of the bed from that sign over to the end here, and all that section there is cantaloupe. So hopefully that works out really well. And then we got the 2 rows of peas, which I'll kind of circle around here. You can see these are just barbed wire fence posts. You can see old laying around with twine hooked together, holding them together. One of the tricks I learned from doing this is start from the top, because the top will pull the posts most, tightest together. If you start from the bottom, if you start down there and tie it tight, by the time you go up here and tie the top tight, your bottom ones will be drooping and loose. So start from the top, get them tight, and then work your way down. Tight, tight, tight. And then what I do is I have different techniques for keeping them tight and retightening them. But anyway, you guys have seen these before. These are our 3 peas that have come up so far. So that's what we got going on there. We grow peas awesome here. Tons of peas grow here. We were producing 3 to 5 pounds of peas every single day for weeks on end last year. So we're looking to do the same thing. Oh, there's little one's foot you saw. OPSEC. All right, this pot has honeydew in it, because that's another way I'm trying to to grow the honeydew, is in a pot. So hopefully you get some heat and it's in a good location for sun. We really want to make the melons work. And I've shown you over here, that's a really important part of gardening also, is Little Bit's flower garden. That's part of her flower garden there, her magical fairy wildflower garden. So this is an old wooden thing that was laying out behind the house. So I attached it to the front of the porch, and you can see here some of that corrugated plastic. And I punched a bunch of holes, hooked it onto the bottom of this, filled them full of dirt, and that was predominantly going to be flower garden. But what I think I'm going to do is do this one in herbs, so because it's right off the porch, and we can collect fresh herbs for cooking. And then over here on the other side of the porch is another one. This one will probably be flower garden, as well as that is Little Bit's magical flower that she's growing. And here's some more flowers that we have growing in here for decoration, just so it looks nice and pretty around here too, because that's important to little girls. I've mentioned before this project, but as you can see, this project has grown in size. We are trying to kill all the weeds here so we can plant a bunch of zucchinis, squash, corn, maybe stuff like that. I don't really know. But let's continue our journey on over here. So this is a random area. Got to clean up these scraps of wood from making a project. This area here will randomly grow all kinds of things. Usually tomato plants. We get a bunch of tomatoes growing in here also, sometimes some potatoes. Moving on to this random area also I talked about recently. We got some broccoli growing up there and some over here, or actually that may be cabbage. There's some cabbage, I believe. One good thing is here we get every year we get potatoes. Those 2 potatoes are coming up. Things are coming up all the time. So as you can tell, we really need to weed this area and take care of this area better. That's on the list of a million things to do. So that's that section. This section here is not a bunch of junk. This is the BB gun shooting range. These are all the cans that my 13-year-old boy shoots his BB gun at. But as you can see, part of the ground has been prepared before. Last year we had a bunch of potatoes in here. They didn't grow really well. And then we planted over in that section right there, basically this section here, the square here, we planted watermelons that never ever even came up. So we're not really sure what we're going to do with this area here. We may just leave it alone. What I really want to do is, this looks back into the woods. What I really want to do is over here, build an actual like target area so he can have a thing where it has different levels on it where he can set the cans up and just shoot the heck out of them, because that's really important for the development of a young man. This section you guys recently saw, the section that we made last year, we cleared out all the blackberry bushes that were living there. As you can see up the hill there, all the blackberry bushes that we're trying to clear out, where they were cut down, we got to go pull all those out of the ground. Also, yeah, that's going to be a lot of work, but it would clear a whole new field up there for planting. This is all potatoes. I already talked about that in the other video, so I'm not really going to go into that, but we like potatoes, and potatoes are so calorically dense, that it's a very good prepper food. Okay, so there are some other things we're going to grow. Well, I'll show you some of the seed packs and talk about that a little bit. So the raised bed, our rock growing area, is just the bed that we're finishing up. I know, I was being a little silly there. I get it. I do that every once in a while. Like once a year, my wife says. So that area, along with that whole area you saw covered in cardboard, we're not sure exactly where everything's going to fit yet. We're still ramping up, trying to get stuff in the ground. But some things we have left to plant would be some of these squash. Those are good. Lots more beans. We love beans, and we grow the heck out of them here. We'd like to do some more, do some butternut squash. Those are really good. Also, the table queen squash. Those are really good. I use those in lots of different things. This is all different varieties of Swiss chard. That's always really good for salads, stir fries, and everything. A big time, we're going to grow a lot of squash still to plant. So we got a bunch of those still to plant. We use a lot of squash, and we'll be canning, doing different things with them. Kale is really good. I've talked about that in other videos. Really good, really healthy green for you guys to eat. We use them in green smoothies, stir fries, lots of different things. So kale's really good, and it grows really well here. So we'll do some more kale. We got some of these lemon cucumbers that we'll still plant. So those are one of our cucumbers. Here's the other one. It's SMR 58. I don't know. They're cucumbers. And there's a bunch of different kinds in there of cucumbers. So we're going to grow a bunch of cucumbers. I know, not very good caloric value, but man, we grow some sweet cucumbers. We love coming out here with the kids, just picking one. We each pick one and just chow it. Just eat it. And I didn't really mention tomatoes yet, because we got a couple areas that just randomly grow tomatoes up, and we have friends that have a big, humongous greenhouse. I'm talking, it's probably, it's at least 20, 25 foot wide and about 80 feet long greenhouse that they grow tons extra, and they put a stand on the road outside on their property, free starters. And so it's really cool to encourage other people to garden. They're really good friends of ours. So we get a lot of tomato plants from them and a bunch of other stuff. I always have to try to find room to fit it in, because I've already planted by the time their starters are ready. But anyway, tomatoes, I might plant some somewhere. And then I got some of these little onion, what are they called? The onion sets. Yeah, I got some of those left over. I might figure out a way where to put those. And some pumpkin seeds that we harvested from our own garden. So pumpkin's really good also. Obviously, it's not time to plant pumpkin quite yet. More of a fall, winter crop. But last year I forgot to put pumpkin in. This year I'm going to make sure I put pumpkin in. Especially for the kids to have their jack-o'-lanterns and stuff for Halloween. Which we don't really celebrate. People know I'm a person of faith. And, it's one of those holidays that, don't really like. But anyway, I hope you guys liked the video. We try to grow a variety of flavors, of colors. Colors is important. God made all these fruits and vegetables, all these different colors, because the colors represent all different kinds of vitamins and minerals and things your body needs. So it's a really good thing in your garden to have a wide color variety. That's very important for for all your nutrients, to get what you need, what your body needs. So we try to do a wide variety, but we also try to do a lot larger quantity for the high caloric items. And yes, my Psycho Lab is barking at something, probably Chonky the squirrel in the background. I don't know, whatever. So we look at caloric value, but we also look at variety, flavor, taste, and what we love. Some things we make because that's what we love to eat. That's really important. Don't plant stuff you're not going to eat because there's no point in it. But anyway, I hope you guys liked the video. Please subscribe, hit the like button, comment below, share the videos, spread the love, grow the community, please. And try to do these things on your own. Do these things for yourself. Get out there and do the things. Very important. Work on your fitness also and your overall health. You got to be healthy to be able to do the things. Anyway, prep a little every day. Remember, prepping is living insurance. I love you guys, and blessings to you and yours.